The people of Southwest D.C. say, we want more cops on the corner so we could walk to work and school and feel safe. Eddie, living in Princeton, says what matters most is mistrust of police. That's the classic substitution of vision versus reality.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine, where life, culture, community, and faith meet truth, power, and purpose.
Everybody, it's Damon K. Jones here, and welcome back to the Publisher's Desk. Today, we're breaking down a sharp exchange between Joe Scarborough and Eddie Glaude, and we're going to view it through the lens of Thomas Sowell's book, Intellectuals and Society. This isn't just a TV spat. It's a textbook example of the conflict Sowell warned about. Intellectuals who operate in theories and visions versus ordinary people who live with the consequences of policy in their everyday life. Here's what happened. Joe Scarborough cited polling from the Washington Post showing that in Washington, D.C., 91% of the residents said crime was a serious problem. The group most alarmed was Black women. They overwhelmingly wanted more police present to feel safe.
To poorer Americans, there's a Washington Post poll that we've talked about quite a bit over the past several weeks since we talked about additional troops in Washington, D.C., and that is 91% of D.C. residents said that crime was a serious problem. The people that said crime was a very serious problem overwhelmingly were Black residents. Those who said it was not a serious crime predominantly were white, rich residents. And the demographic who said that crime was the biggest problem were Black women.
Eddie Glaude pushed back. He said, I'm not just an academic, I'm a Black man who had to talk since I was a boy. There's a deep-seated mistrust in police.
No, Joe, I'm not just speaking as an academic. I'm speaking as a Black man who has been reared in the United States with a deep-seated suspicion about whether or not police actually are engaged in protecting our communities.
So on one side, you have Joe pointing out the data, what people say they want, and on the other side, Eddie elevating his personal narrative as the more authentic authority. That tension is exactly what Sowell described.
What is the vision to which contemporary intellectuals subscribe?
That intellectuals should influence, if not control, the kinds of decisions that are made in society, and more especially that they should promote the transfer of decisions from the masses to those who have, quote, more intellect.
In Intellectuals in Society, Sowell explains that intellectuals live in a unique world. Unlike engineers or doctors, their product is words, theories, and narratives. And here's the catch, brothers and sisters. They rarely are held accountable when their ideals fail. If an engineer builds a bridge that collapses, people die and his career ends. If a doctor misdiagnoses a patient, the consequences are immediate. But if an intellectual proposes a policy that makes neighborhoods less safe, they don't live with those consequences. They just write another book and they give another lecture. That's why Sowell said that intellectuals like Glaude are dangerous. They can substitute their version for the actual results people experience, and they pay no price if they're wrong.
It's coming at you, but it'll go fast. Why does the liberal progressive mindset have such a stranglehold within the intellectual academic world? Why should the vision that you just described be so prevalent among intellectuals?
Well, among the many reasons, most academic intellectuals have no experience, no serious experience outside the academy. I remember I was once an economist for AT&T when it was the world's largest corporation, and when I returned to the academic world, they welcomed me as the prodigal son. You see, had returned from the evils of corporate America to the true nirvana of academia. And not only do they have no experience, they have every incentive to believe that they are brighter than other people and no more than other people, because they've been told that all their lives. I mean, you become a top intellectual because you've passed through all these successive filters. You've gotten into the best colleges. You've gotten into the best graduate schools.
Or even from second grade on, the teachers are responding to you as a kid who passes tests especially well.
Yes. Right. And so you have all of that in your background.
Now look at Eddie Glaude's comments. He doesn't grapple with the polling. He doesn't answer why black women in D.C. overwhelmingly want more police. Instead, he shifts the debate to his own identity. I have had the talk. I'm a black man in America. I carry the history with me. This exactly what Sowell meant, and intellectuals often use personal narratives or moral authority to override inconvenient facts. The people of Southwest DC say, we want more cops on the corner so we could walk to work and school and feel safe. Eddie, living in Princeton, says what matters most is mistrust of police. That's the classic substitution of vision versus reality.
This relationship to the police that you're presupposing. And let me just say this, I think.
No, I'm not presupposing.
Let me just make this point.
Hold on, Eddie. Eddie, I'm not presupposing anything. I am giving you data. And by the way, are you living the same experience that you're talking about, that we've talked about on this show for 18 years with you and Gene Robinson and everybody else? But is your experience in Princeton the same as somebody's in Anacostia?
Of course not. Of course.
Joe Scarborough, whether you like him or not, plays the role Sowell himself often played. Pointing back at the numbers, he says, I'm not pre-proposing anything. I'm giving you the data. Princeton isn't Anacostia. Wealthy academics don't live with the same risk poor families face in Southwest DC. Sowell would call that key distinction. The people with the most influence over debates often live furthest away from the consequences of their ideas. This one debate reflects a bigger picture, brothers and sisters. One, on crime, activists in safe neighborhoods chant defunded police while poor black communities plead for more protection. Two, education. Elite theorists push new models while parents just want their children to learn how to read and do math. And three, economics. Politicians roll out programs that sound compassionate while the results lock people into dependency. In each case, the intellectuals promote vision. The people most affected deal with their consequences. Sowell had already laid the foundation for this critique in Visions of the Anointed, where he showed how elites elevate intentions over results. But in Intellectuals and Society, he drilled it deeper, brothers and sisters, because he said intellectuals don't just prefer intentions. They build entire careers on visions that are insulated from the reality. That's why Eddie's comments are so telling. He wasn't debating what the people themselves said in the polls. He was advancing a vision of what the debate ought to be about: mistrust, identity, suspicion, while ignoring the concrete demands for safety from real families that live in the community.
In Washington, D.C., and that is 91% of D.C. residents said that crime was a serious problem. The people that said crime was a very serious problem overwhelmingly were black residents. Those who said it was not a serious crime predominantly were white, rich residents. And the demographic who said that crime was the biggest problem were black women.
So here's the lesson. When we hear debates about policing, education, or economics, we need to ask, are we listening to the people who live with the results? Or are we listening to intellectuals insulated from the consequences of their own ideas?
I mean, people whose end products are ideas. There are other people with great intelligence whose end products are things like the Salk vaccine. A
research scientist is not necessarily an intellectual.
That's right.
An engineer isn't necessarily an intellectual.
That's right. Because the engineer is judged by the end product, which is not simply ideas. If he builds a building that collapses, it doesn't matter how brilliant his idea was, he's ruined. Conversely, if an intellectual who's brilliant has an idea for rearranging society, and that ends in disaster, he pays no price at all.
And that's what we see in black communities throughout the nation. Intellectuals making decisions and policies for black communities that they don't even live in, that they never had an experience in. Eddie Glaude may speak with moral passion, but Thomas Sowell reminds us that passion doesn't keep families safe. Data, accountability, and results keeps families safe. And let me make this clear. I've been in law enforcement for 33 years. And when dealing with public safety, police brutality, it wasn't Republicans I had to fight with. It was Democrats. It was those who say that they're going to fix the problem, but never do. The clash on display in this exchange, brothers and sisters, says that's why Sowell's critique of intellectuals remains relevant today as ever. So I suggest you read a lot of Thomas Sowell's books because he has exposed this years ago, what we see today. They say there's nothing new under the sun. And the game don't change, just the players. And Thomas Sowell has laid out the playbook years ago that we see and still played on black people today by our own black intellectuals and our own black politicians. So thank you for watching The Publisher's Desk. And please leave a comment if you agree what I'm saying, or maybe you disagree. Have you ever watched or read Thomas Sowell's writings or ever watched an interview with Thomas Sowell? Let me know. Because if you value this kind of analyst, don't forget to like and share and subscribe. And as always, please visit blackwestchester.com or help us out and buy some merch. But as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and stay blacktastic. Peace out.
Tired of the same emotional politics that lead nowhere. Emotional Politics, Logical Failure by Damon K. Jones is the book Black America needs right now. It exposes the lies, challenges the gatekeepers, and calls for real strategy, not just symbolism. Power starts with truth. On sale, now, and available in audiobook on Amazon.
Tolerance is for Cowards by Damon K. Jones. This book is not anti-police, it's pro-community. Discover how the extended policing strategy empowers you to demand real public safety, justice, and accountability from your local police department. Because the black community deserves good policing. On sale now on Amazon and Audible. Discover Jesus and Divine Black Masculinity by Damon K. Jones. This a bold blueprint to restore faith, manhood, and purpose in Black America. Because the black community needs good black men. Available now on Amazon. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like and share it with others who need to hear the truth. And for exclusive content and behind-the-scenes access, join the Black Westchester Magazine YouTube membership club today. Your support helps us keep independent Black media strong. Support independent Black media with style. Rock Black Westchester merch and represent the news with the Black point of view. Every purchase helps us speak truth to power.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine, where life, culture, community, and faith meet truth, power, and purpose.